I'm gonna close this one too because things are.
Mike Schein, good morning, 100 millionaires. What is your phrase? What is your saying?
I'm Mike Schein, the holistic attorney, and I am interested in massive income from passive income.
I love it. That is the goal always. And true, you have had an amazing week. Actually, it's been an amazing, I'd say, 3-week run where you have not necessarily been bragging, but you have every so often been updating close friends. We'll put it that way.
I feel like I'm Noah with Noah's Ark. I'm trying to get people on the boat, you know?
And now do you
Some
think,
people don't listen to me and say,
now would you say, with that analogy, that exact analogy, is there still time to get on the boat, or is it already raining and the animals are on board and it's like, well, I mean, I warned you, I said something.
that's something. So this is obviously we're talking about Tesla, and again, this is not financial advice. Do your own research. But what I've been doing for the past 6 months is I've been watching YouTube channels focused on Tesla. And there's a lot of good ones. There's a couple that are not so good. But anyways, and I listen to the advice and then I do my own research. And there are a couple of people that I follow. First of all, there's a woman by the name of Cathie Wood, and she owns a investment company called Ark Investors.
Yeah.
And her bull case and she's amazing. Okay, she's all disruptive technology. That's her funds. I don't own her fund. I just watch her on some of the other programs, and she's amazing. Her name's Cathie Wood, Ark Investors, and they do disruptive technologies. And when she looks at Tesla, she has a bull case, a bear case, and a in the middle case. And her bear case, I think, is 1,500 per share. Her bull case, which would include the Robo taxis and that type of stuff, is 22,000 a share.
22,000?
22,000 a share. And when you listen to her, it doesn't sound so crazy. She's very level-headed. She knows where she's going. She has the ability to shut down all the shorts, which have now all been vanquished by the rise of Tesla. And right now, they came out with numbers on the number of cars, but I think it's July 22nd is their earnings for the quarter. And because Elon put out that thing about the shorts and those that you can buy those red satin shorts, he's making fun. He's trolling the SEC and he was trolling the shorts.
Nope.
And they sold out of them on the first day, by the way, of these shorts. So
Yeah.
it's like, you always hear people say that company had its Apple moment when suddenly everybody had to have an iPhone. Well, He told, I won't go any further into this, but he told Ron Barron, who is one of his big investors, a very successful billionaire, he said Elon Musk said June 2020, that is our moment, and it's coming to fruition.
Really?
Beyond that, he's also, if they show a profit this quarter, that allows them to get into the S&P 500. And if they get approved, which it looks like, because he wouldn't put out that whole short things unless he thought the quarter was going to be a profit.
Right.
That's what everybody's thinking. But all the ETFs, there's a bunch of ETFs that when it's in the S&P 500, they have to buy the stock.
Yep.
Because it has to be a portion. So there's a lot of opportunities still. So
No kidding.
but do your own research. Go on YouTube. Watch all these. There's got to be like 20 or 30 Tesla channels. I mean, they obviously it's like, like Mitch Durfee is doing all this stuff. He's doing like meditation right now, and he's showing that it's you can make money off it. Yep. Somebody must have figured out that if you put Tesla in your YouTube channel, then people will watch it, and I'm one of them.
I'm going to put hashtag Tesla in all of our videos now, since it does come up.
Yeah, right. What a great idea. We
like
But so
SEO.
the two that the two or three, right, four that I recommend.
Oh, here we go with recommendations. Okay, so one.
Chicken Genius Singapore.
Yep.
That guy is brilliant. He used to teach financial stuff, and he doesn't he says he doesn't need the money, and I just love his whole aura. He's awesome.
Yep.
Hyperchange is another YouTube channel, Hyperchange, with this guy Galileo. He's same thing. They're all level-headed guys. And you know I like people with strange names like Walter. So
why not Galileo and
Yeah.
Chicken Genius, right?
Yeah, there you go. And Tesla Daily, that guy was so successful that the guy on CNBC, Jim Cramer, just hired him to do articles on Tesla for his E! magazine, whatever, The Street. So that's Tesla Daily, and obviously it's a daily. His name's Rob Maurer. He needs to change his name to a strange name.
Right. Well, Maurer's a tough one.
Yeah.
So he's already started.
All right, so those three, and I'm trying to think. There's another one, but I can't think of it. If I think of it later, but those are good ones, and they're level-headed. And when you start listening to this, you see the last one is Solving the Money Problem.
Yep.
That guy is amazing. He's
so powerful YouTube channels that you can go follow and get the knowledge that Mike Schein himself has.
Yeah.
Great suggestions. We'll get those in the show notes.
Yeah.
Like, share, subscribe.
Just beyond Tesla, the guy the kid, he's a kid. I don't know. He's probably your age, like 30 something. His backstory is so cool. He's from Australia. He started doing real estate. And for 7 years, he just killed himself in real estate.
Yep.
And at a certain point, very successful at it. And then sold everything. And he moved. He's now in Argentina. And he shows in one of his videos what he has for his possessions. It's this really cool backpack that you can buy, the backpack. But anyway, and he's just in Argentina just hanging out. And he does his little YouTube channel. But he also showed what his portfolio is, and he had, I want to say he has 1,000 shares of Tesla.
No way.
And he has other things, and he's just they're all the people I just mentioned are all just very level-headed, neat backstories, and just kind of, it's cool.
That's wild. 1,000 shares of Tesla will get you far right now.
Right? Especially if you're living out of a backpack and you're just traveling around the world.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna last a long time for him, and if he holds on to it long enough, that could become extremely it's already extremely valuable.
Yeah, right.
It could be even more so. So Tesla for the win. Real estate is exploding
for the win. Yeah.
Right? Like it's just a very good time in the economy, and we just went through the craziest, unknown recession thing. A corona, we went through a pandemic, right? We went through an economic pandemic, a health pandemic that caused a little bit of a ripple in the stock market. And yet Tesla came through the stock market and real estate came through the stock market. We don't seem to have, now the REITs did get beat up. The REITs went down half in value. They were beat up more than any other sector. And now they're coming back as well. But the real tangible real estate outside of the REITs has been booming this entire time.
Yeah, you even said, like Tesla, like a lot of stocks, which I personally took as an opportunity when it dipped. But real estate, like the stuff that you're buying in Fall River and things like that, you said the other day on Saturday, you said it didn't dip at all. There was no effect on our. And in fact, I own real estate too. I don't, and we didn't feel that at all. We didn't feel it at all.
We know where the market's at because we're always buying, right? We're always looking for deals, and there's no deals.
There was no deals.
Prices are up higher and higher, and it's like, did you notice pandemic?
Yeah.
Did you notice the stock market dropped? Why isn't real estate dropping? What's the disconnect?
We were kind of hoping that was going to happen. I mean, I don't like to profit on a tragedy, and I know that people are getting sick, so I'm not minimizing that. But at the same time, I remember the conversation early in COVID was that maybe the real estate prices will drop.
Right.
And that's what happened with the stock market. It dropped and then it shot back up. There was no drop in real estate. It just didn't.
No.
It didn't happen.
It hasn't happened in this first wave, and although the stock market may drop again for the second wave,
Right.
I don't think it's going to happen in real estate for the second wave. There's just fundamentally no reason to allow it to do that, right? We're still grabbing and buying, and vacancy is gone. There's no vacancy. Rents are on the rise,
Right.
I get a message every single day from a potential tenant, somebody saying, hey, do you know do you have an apartment? It's like, dude, like, no, I have not had an apartment since COVID started. I don't know if you know the rules, but you got to stay indoors. And people are like, I'm just not going to leave right now. Yeah.
I got a quick question for you. If so we have I own a 6-unit in Newport.
Yep.
And tenants at this point are running over to my partner with cash and riding the bike over. He lives in Newport. And they were just requesting that they be able to pay online. So something as simple as that. I know we've talked about Buildium in the past, but is there some like simpler solution for just this? Like,
I mean, you could use no system. You could just go to the bank and say, hey, I want my tenants to be allowed to deposit. And you give your tenants the account number to deposit. And that's as simple as it gets, right? Without having to add any system. I use Buildium because it makes it easier for us to track everything.
Yeah.
But there is a delay when you use Buildium. It's like a 3-day delay for the ETF, electronic funds transfer. So
you do that, like we do that with one of our 3-family here in North Kingstown, that they just go up to Stop and Shop and deposit it. But I think these people want to do it online.
Yeah, I mean,
they want to leave their apartment. So
so you could do the same thing online. They just have to create an account with your bank.
Gotcha.
So they have to create an account with your bank, and then they can go and drop in.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
They could do it from their own bank. If they have online banking, if they have the account number, they can go and pay. They'll give you the transaction number and the account number.
Yeah, ABA. Yeah, transfer. Yeah.
Transfer number. Yeah.
Anyway.
So that's definitely an option for them. As long as you give them the account number, they can bang that out.
Nice. What about like Venmo and those type of things? Is that?
Yes, but be careful with it. Venmo only allows you to take $3,000 in a week. So 6-unit in Newport, I have a feeling you'll go over that.
No, that doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
That's cool. All right, good. Because I'm trying to get more systems. I mean, if you can't get more properties right now, I mean, I know what you're doing. You're doing like fix and flips. I'm not really doing.
I hear you.
So for now, maybe it's a good time to just get our systems in order.
Yeah, so for us, we're doing the fix and flips because we got bored with getting our systems in order, right? So the systems are in order, the tenants are there. Then we started a brokerage and we did the fix and flips as like, okay, what do we do now while we're not able to buy anything? So
it's awesome.
And even with that, we are buying a rooming house right now. So just a different type of property. It's registered as a 6-family on the register, the public register, but it looks like a 10 to 15 door rooming house. So that'll be a new project for us that we've never run. We may do some Airbnb in it. We may do some short-term rentals and then some long-term rentals just by rooms.
Yeah.
So a little different.
Cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
In Fall River again?
In Fall River. Yep.
Well, let me ask you where you're at, because on the one hand, you said that it's your city and you want to make it a better city, and I love that attitude. But then I've also heard you say that I think one of your coaches said that you might want to be going outside of your city, because then you can bring in more money to help your city, probably. I'm just
100%. So what I've devised to get outside of my city to help more is training. So the real estate I own in my city, right? It's like Tesla batteries. So I'll relate to you, Mike.
Yeah,
so think of my city as a battery. Think of rental property as a battery. It's a place to hold energy. Now, it doesn't matter where you picked up the energy, right? You can pick it
Yeah.
up through a power line, through solar, through wind power. So I look at the agency side and the training business, the coaching business, those and the flips I do locally because it's just easier to, we'll call them transferring of batteries, right? It's easier to have solar panels stuck there.
Sure.
But the agency can be done anywhere throughout the country now that we've switched to a brokerage that allows that. And then the coaching company, using Zoom, we can get through anywhere throughout the country. And so those two pieces are like setting out solar panels all over the country and bringing the wires back to the real estate that holds all our wealth.
Okay, but and you also are talking, I know you spoke with Darina about buying in Orlando, Florida. That was
so we're at least gonna move to Orlando or Tampa. We're probably pushing more towards Tampa right now.
I love Tampa. I told you my friend moved down there, and when we went to his destination wedding, we were like, wow, maybe we should move here.
It might be worth it, Mike.
Yeah.
At least in the winter. I know in the summer it gets super humid, super hot.
Yeah.
And
I was talking to my dad yesterday. This is their first year they ever stayed there in the summer.
Yeah.
Because of COVID, they're staying down there. And he says, yeah, it's brutally hot. They've been going down there for like 25, 30 years maybe. And this is the first summer. Because, they're snowbirds. They come back up here. They can't come this year.
It's honestly, I don't see staying down there in the summer as a smart move. I see that as, why would you do it? I mean, we got a place in New England that finally is like thought out and nice. Like, come back to New England. Yeah,
that's the great thing about your job is that you can do that. And I always say this. This is my battery. I run the closing company, and but one of my frustrations is that I cannot at this point be elsewhere. So
we're gonna talk about that in our little coaching session right after this.
Because that has been my frustration. You get I've got 5 bars. Okay, so I'm a member of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Georgia, and California right now.
Right.
And my father's like, you should get the Florida bar, and I'm like, Dad, I am so done with taking bar exams. I haven't taken one in like 30 years now, but I can't study again. I could, but I choose not to.
So I guess this is important for everybody, right? So Darina said the same thing yesterday, not yesterday, the whole concept of building our little empire so that we can go everywhere and travel everywhere. Right now we're doing the podcast from New Jersey, right? I'm not in my home.
I was going to say, we should tell why you don't have your whiteboards or any of your background.
Yeah, notice there's nothing I can write on here. Oh, it's okay. I travel with this massive drawing notebook. So it's almost like a whiteboard. And I use a program called MindMeister so I can like digitally whiteboard.
That thing is so cool, by the way. You showed me that the other day. Anybody wants to take a look at something that's fun, MindMeister is it's cool.
It's super useful for vision boarding, right? And I couldn't live without it. I couldn't visualize how the connections of everything if I didn't have some way to map it out. And so, how do we make everything in the business transferable so you can do it from home and move home everywhere, right? So the first thing is you can't be tied to a location for your work. And then the second thing is you can't be tied to a location in your life because you never know where you want to be.
Right.
And you understand, you've traveled quite a bit. Well, I want to make sure that we travel enough to figure out the right place to settle down and have a home here and make sure the business is always running. So for you as an attorney, right? And this goes for anybody in any business that services anyone, even W-2 jobs, right? A W-2 job, you could even manage to automate yourself there as long as you can become a 1099. If you can agree with the employer that, look, I want to provide the same service, maybe even better, I just no longer want to do it hourly. I want to take the risk off your plate, and I want to go and do this as a subcontractor.
And if you want to do that, if you are somebody listening to this podcast and you want to do that, I would recommend reading The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Because even those people who are W-2, they didn't even become 1099. They just asked if they could work from home. And I think Tim even said something about, then he had one guy, one of his success stories, who got permission to work at home and then was actually working from China. And his boss had no idea, because as long as you're getting the work done, who cares?
That's what matters. And I have a buddy who is an attorney, and he has a podcast, just like, what we do, except his is Watching the Watchers. So his law office, right?
Watching the Watcher.
His law office is about malpractice. Not malpractice, it's criminal law, right? So he works a lot with criminal law, and he knows his client base is concerned with the unethical parts of the law, right?
Yeah.
So he's always saying, hey, look, watch out for this, watch out for this, watch out for this.
That's awesome.
Looking to keep his clients out of prison, out of trouble.
Yeah.
And yet by doing that, the people who are looking to keep out of trouble, who are in trouble, he's getting more clients, right?
This reminds me, when I was a prosecutor, there was a couple of defense attorneys, and when you took their card, on the back, they had reverse Miranda rights. That's so, like, if you got pulled over by a police officer, you take out this card from this lawyer, and it says, I do not consent to search of my property. I do not, and it just goes through opposite Miranda, just protecting the same idea. It's so good.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Reverse Miranda. Of course, I was a prosecutor, so I was kind of like, I don't know, but it was
like, oh, bro, that's not helping us here.
Yeah. And you got mortgage guys who also have on the back of their card everything they need, to stop that first conversation, because it's always the same. I need 2 years of personal tax return, 2 years of business returns. It's all the same every time. Yeah.
That's exactly what you want to create as an attorney, right?
Yeah.
As a lender, as an agent. So agents, we believe the same thing. We're stuck locally, right?
Yeah.
And so that belief is a belief until we change the belief. And I got to thank you for sending over that Esther Hicks video yesterday. I listened to that last night.
It had the word billions in it. I think this is so great, because when I think billions, I think you. So
that's right, brother. We're going there. And I had that intention the entire time I was listening to it.
Yeah.
And what she said was, you've got to put it out into the vortex. You've got to accept it, and then not believe the hard work exists, right? She's like, there's hard work if you create hard work. Like there's difficulty if you believe it's going to be difficult. But I'll tell you what, I've watched my brother do a backflip, and if I think about doing a backflip, it creates anxiety in my head and heat, and like I start sweating. And now I'm capable of doing a backflip. I know, because I've done them, but it's been a while.
Yeah, I get it.
And so, like, for him, it's effortless. He does it, and he's like, that was great. And for me, like, just the thought of doing it creates so many problems.
That's like me with cold calling. I haven't done it yet.
100%.
I'm surrounded by wholesalers. I still got my thing.
You got the headset.
But I don't do it because I get the sweats and all this stuff, and whatever.
And it's one of those pieces where you look at it and you say, this is stopping me from being successful. Why? Like, what's going on in here?
Yeah.
Because the universe wants to hand it to you. The universe wants to hand you the opportunity. It wants to hand you the money or the deal. And there's something that you're putting in front of it saying, yeah, you know what? Like, I'll wait. I got to make it hard enough for me to do it.
And I don't know if we can actually put it in the links, but that Esther Hicks talks about that getting $1 billion is the same as getting a button.
Right.
So that which you don't think, because you think finding a button is easy enough, right. They're all around, but that's not the truth. That's not the way the universe works. And I love that, because we're going for $1 billion, and the mindset has to be that this, just like you said, it has to be easy. This is not going to be a 50-year struggle for, where we're working in the coal mines.
And I thought it up. I really did. I came up with it. And the only flaw I have right now is how do you sustain it? How do you manage it? Right? Like that, because for me to say, Mike, let's combine our portfolio, and we're gonna take this much share, and we're gonna say, hey, this is it. Yeah. It's really not that hard. It's just a partnership. You don't even have to go into the syndication.
Exactly.
So if it works for us, well, why wouldn't it work for 10 other people and 100 other people? We literally go and say, hey, look, your portfolio runs exactly the same way. The only thing we're going to look at is, can we put cheaper management in place, better quality, cheaper management? Whatever you're getting right now, you're likely going to continue getting, because it's all just percentage of share.
Yeah.
And it like That's possible, right? So then now you no longer have to worry about whether you're making the right decisions in your real estate because you got a board that's looking at it with you. Anytime your portfolio comes up, we call you in and we're like, hey, this is what you've got. This is what we're looking at doing. We're going to take this transfer to more, and all of our shares are going to go up. All of our dividends are going to go up. What do you think? And is this a good move? You know your location better than we do. And that's like the only play in the company.
Yeah.
So when you look at it, it's like, Mike, we can start this yesterday.
Yeah, and actually, I just want to go back a second. You know, if you talked to me like 6 months ago about making $1 billion, it was like a complete impossibility. But then you started talking about it, and so, you know, like Esther says, it went into the vortex.
Right.
Maybe at first you have doubts, or you say things like we just said, that it's very difficult, you know, it's going to be hard work, all that kind of stuff. But what happened, and this is why I'm saying this, and I just want to point out to people that things started happening in my world that showed me that $1 billion company or REIT is not so far away. It's actually a couple of connections. I mentioned Diami, I mentioned you, and suddenly the numbers just started connecting and saying, well, wait a second, in 10 years, if we just, like you always say, you wake up in the morning, do what you're supposed to do, it'll be there.
That's it.
And it doesn't even have to be the 10 years. That was just the first easy.
I think 10 years is too far, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, because it was so let's just look at the timeline. First, it's like, oh, I'll never be a billionaire. I didn't think about it. Oh, wouldn't it be neat to be a billionaire? But that's not for me. That's for other people. Then it's like, oh, wait a second. I could be a billionaire. Wait a sec. Here's actually 2 or 3 opportunities that are in my vortex that could easily lead to this. So we're just progressing along the path. That just blows me away. And it's just so much fun to live in this universe, right?
Absolutely.
And that's just a blast, as opposed to being like, oh, I got to go to, I'm not saying this specifically, but oh, I got to go to court today, and, you know, I'll make $250 helping somebody with a larceny charge. You know, it's like small thinking. You could, you know, blow the roof off of it.
And so back to the point, you know, if you want to be able to live somewhere else, like you're talking about moving to Florida for half the year, right? Snowbird it, same way we're looking at doing, then all it is the intention, right? Yes, you have the kids, right? So the kids on some level, move them to a Florida school, because school's in school over the winter, right? So, and then during the summer, they're back here. And then when school comes back in, we're down there.
Although I am wavering, so I might need 3 homes, because I also want to live in Southern California. So
see?
Full disclosure, I lived out there. I'm licensed as an attorney out there still. That would be cool too, but I love the tropical feel of Florida, so it's
so California may be the end zone, right? And so it could be this year that you do it. And the only strategy that would have to be in place is that you replace yourself as the hands and feet of the business, and you just adjust to being just the head, just the brain of the business, and maybe the nervous system, but that's it. Yeah. Because we've proven that attorneys can go to the closings for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And so your physical presence there, not actually necessary.
I went yesterday. It was a deal I did yesterday, and the company was guaranteed rate. And they said that they did what they call a hybrid closing, where they have like a notary do a bunch of documents. And I was like, this is awesome. I'm just going to step in, look at the documents for a second, have them sign a mortgage, and get out. Unfortunately, guaranteed rate is not there yet, because they still had a package of 100 documents for me to sign. But I'm in North Kingstown. There's no reason that I shouldn't be able to give it to an associate, print it out in Pawtucket, have them sign that, and we're on our way. So that's it.
That's the system you want to implement, right? That's the system you want to implement. For me, I don't, even agency, like, we're building an agency. We have a team, we're building that out, but that's not our main squeeze. Our main squeeze is actually the referrals that we pass to other agents that we're not competing with, right? I was sitting in front of Domino's last night after listening. Esther Hicks. And I was like, you know what I really have to do, not have to, but I'm going to do is just start talking to brokers and getting a contract signed with the broker and saying, hey, look, I don't want to compete with you guys. What I'd like to do is feed you. Like, I'd like to send you leads, send you business. Will you pay me a referral fee?
That's
And
so
then
good.
now we're nationwide, right? I just train, just do what I do, train people.
Yeah.
When an investor comes in and says, yeah, I'd like to work with an agent, boom, stamp, here, go to my trained agents.
So question for you, if you're a Rhode Island realtor, can you get a commission from a Massachusetts realtor?
Yeah.
Why is that?
We're federally licensed. So we
Because
have the
that's
federal side and the state
that's
side.
EXP, you're saying.
Well,
Any agent.
any agent in any brokerage, I can go to a broker in Keller Williams right now, and I'm an EXP, and I can say, hey, look, will you pay me a referral fee? If they agree, we sign a contract. When the deal closes, I collect on that contract. And so that's any brokerage. It could be a Remax in Tennessee. It doesn't matter where they are. As long as they're federally licensed and I'm federally licensed, we can transact money because the federal government agrees that we're licensed.
Good, because that's one of the things with the Zoom call we have at 12. That was one of his concerns. So
yeah,
so we can talk about that. That's cool.
Yeah, oh,
Good
absolutely.
Good to know.
It's a very valuable piece when you're looking at expanding a business. If I wanted to transact in Florida and Massachusetts, personally, I'd have to be licensed. But if I want to pass out referrals to people in Florida and Massachusetts, I don't have to be licensed.
Gotcha.
When you're willing to give the money to other people, then it gets a lot easier. Most agents, most investors, most attorneys, most doctors, most everybody looks at half and says, I don't want to do double the business, right? I'd rather just make all the money.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome.
Whereas we've built such a big front end funnel where all the business comes through this front end funnel that we're like, dude, like we can't handle the business we're getting. But let's not have our clients, flounder and just end up in a bad situation. Let's make sure they're going to somebody.
So where's that business coming from? Like, where are the deals coming from that you're getting? Just from the training, or?
100% value add. Just going out there and giving, being a go-giver. The more we give, the more people are like, hey, you've given me a lot. What's the next thing you can give me? I'm looking for an agent now. Okay, well, since I'm so used to giving you, why don't I give you an agent that I have a reciprocity agreement with? And so then the giving starts becoming receiving.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
so then
givers get.
And you got brokers giving you cigars, boxes of cigars, saying thank you.
I see that as I'm going to be compensated in cigars, whiskey, and dollar bills. So,
do you like whiskey? I wanted to like it, but I didn't.
With a cigar, I can forget how bad the whiskey is because the cigar is just as bad. So, or it's more harsh. So here's the thing, like I absolutely love cigars and I absolutely love whiskey with the cigars. Yeah. Whiskey by itself, not interested, not even close. So
that's funny.
Same with bourbon, any kind of hard alcohol. I'm like, I could go without.
What's the sweetest one? Somebody took me out to like one of those whiskey bars. There's something that's sweeter. It's probably bourbon.
Bourbon. Yeah, bourbon's a little soft, a little sweeter. I enjoy it. There is a honey whiskey that I enjoy that I can get down with. That and a cigar.
I was a big fan for like 6 months to a year of Fireball. So that's a whiskey, but I found, maybe I'm getting older, but no, I'm not. Anyway, I found my stomach. Yeah, I'm getting younger. The next morning, my stomach would just hurt because it's
acid
not like
reflux.
It just, I don't know. If you drink a few shots of Fireball, you wake up the next morning.
It is rough.
Yeah, right.
And I'm so over the Fireball scene. Like right. Man, like we go in, and one of the problems of being known in my city is everybody wants to buy a drink, and so I've gotten very good at being like, no man, I've already had 10. Let's relax. I've already been offered 10.
Nice.
Let's tone it down a little.
Well, there's still a faction that I found, because when I go running on the streets, like here in North Kingstown, I don't think I've ever run without seeing a nip of Fireball. It's
Yep.
either Jägermeister or Fireballs on the side of the road, like empty.
And I've seen those too. So clearly it hasn't lost its momentum.
Yeah,
There's like a next generation that catches on a Fireball, says, yeah, you know what? These are awesome.
so right. It's like
I
candy.
get it.
That's fun.
You must be new.
So what's a way for people who would like to buy more real estate right now? What would be your best advice for if you think that everything on the MLS, which by the way, I've actually seen people who did find stuff on the MLS. So
We just did too.
Yeah, so don't give up on that. I'm not saying that, but what's the
Well, what we're doing is marketing like crazy. We're doing cold calling, we're building lists, we're dialing, we're sending out voicemail drops. We're just really, really reaching out to find people who are having a hard time struggling right now with financially to see if they're ready to sell. And the primary thing that we're looking for is cash flow. That's really what we're looking for right now is cash flow, like in a way that we've always been cash flow heavy. We've always focused on cash flow.
Yeah.
But right now, we do believe that we're at a new bottom. We think we're at a new plateau in the market. We think that real estate's going to continue rising. And it's just that rents haven't quite caught up yet. And so we're in a very much a hold pattern, although we are buying, right? We just put that 6-family under agreement because, and we put under agreement while like off of MLS because the commercial lenders are frozen. And so we're going to go hard money with that. We'll finish it up. We'll refi it in a couple of months. We're seeing commercial lenders relax more and more. And so we know that it'll loosen up and it'll come back. But in this time, it's an open window.
So when you say cash flow, so how much would you say is the minimum per door that you're looking for in these times?
Per door, minimum $100.
Oh, really?
$100
I spoke to someone else who was saying in these times he's saying 500 minimum per door.
He's buying things with cash. He's not buying with leverage.
Gotcha.
So with leverage, and we buy full leverage, right? We don't bring any of our money to these deals. So $100 is phenomenal. And
you haven't had any trouble. So as people who watch the podcast know, I lent you money on a second mortgage thing. Yeah, it's good for both of us. It was a relation starter, and it did exactly what it was supposed to do. We now
turn to a podcast.
We now have a relationship. It's awesome. But I've had a lot of people that lent money in the past that when I say second position, they immediately balk. They're like, no, we're not doing second position ever.
Right.
I mean, not just one. I would say most of my private lenders are like, nope, I won't do second position. But you've been able to find, or are you just finding one first position for the whole?
A lot of times we find, no, it's typically, we've always done a bridge. We've always, I mean, aside from full seller financing or subject to existing mortgages, we've always found a bridge or a get to fill the gap. And sometimes it's a seller who brings the other 20%, so, gotcha. Or 10%. That depends on the lender. And so we'll actually be doing that on the 6-family. We'll go back to the seller and say, hey, by the way, would you like to save a little bit of this delay, a little bit of this capital gain? Or would you like this little bit of extra interest right now? Like, could this benefit you? So that could be an option.
That's such a good way of putting it. The saving the capital gains is just a huge thing, especially if it's like an older seller who's about to get a big, they've owned it for 30 years, they're going to get whacked. So
if there's a big gain to be had, then it's a conversation that they're thinking about. And it's, usually the first time we have that conversation, this is good advice for anybody because we get asked this a lot, is go and have the conversation. Even if they say no, tell them to go talk to their accountant. Tell them to talk to their accountant and find out what the tax implications are beforehand and ask them about what it would be like if you held some of the paper, right? So you're not taking the whole gain all at once. You can delay it over time. And that usually turns things around. I've never had somebody say yes on the first time. Well, not true. But for the most part, they need to think about it a little bit more. The first time when I pitch it, they always say, let me think about it, right? So let me think about it. And after they talk to their attorney or accountant, they're like, oh shit, like is that still on the table?
Yes,
It's the only way I can close, so yes.
Yeah. And what was the other reason you would say to them besides the capital gains? You said it a second ago, but I missed it.
Well, it's also income, right? It's interest income. And, for me, interest income has always been my smaller.
They could make interest on it. There you go. Yeah, that's good. That's
So
good.
it's a stream of income.
Yeah.
It avoids capital gain or delays the capital gain. And it gives them an opportunity for an extra stream of income and bragging rights. Afterwards, they can go out and say to their friends, getting this passive income, it's just money flowing in.
Yeah.
I'm the bank.
That's awesome. This building that I'm sitting in was kind of a hybrid at that, because my seller did have a mortgage on it, a smaller mortgage. So the first time I asked him, he said no, but the second time he said, I have this smaller mortgage on it. If you paid that off, I would lend you the rest of the money. So then it was like a down payment. I paid, like 25% by paying off that mortgage for him, and then he held a note for the rest of it. So it worked out really well. So yeah.
And that's a creative finance. It's the reverse of what we do, and it's a great option, right? If you have the down payment, boom, like that's a great way to finance without having to pull credit, not having to go to the bank, not having to go through all the documents. Yeah. So it's a nice, easy process, and I'm building a relationship.
And I think I told you, he didn't look at the documents. I drafted the documents for my own mortgage, which worked out perfectly because I wasn't going to take advantage of him, and he didn't even look at them. I just said, hey, how's 4.5%? He said, perfect. And I just put it on. And then when the year went by and I paid him off, I refinanced.
Yep.
He was, I think he was almost disappointed that I paid him off because he was getting, interest payments, and I would show up on the 24th of every month to hand him a check because he's.
Hey, Mike, reach out to him and ask him if he wants 8% on his money, because we've got some deals coming up where we could provide that.
All right, I will. I'll ask him.
And that's a relationship. One of our lenders is a guy who we seller finance. We bought a house from $150,000. And when we paid the money back, he was like, if you guys ever want to do this again, let me know. I'd like to keep that money moving.
That's
and
good.
So it actually builds the relationship. Even if it's a small percentage that they're giving you in the beginning, it builds a relationship for more. So I'd say that,
I'm writing myself a note.
No, thanks, Mike. Have it in.
It's not just for you. I was thinking for me as well.
Absolutely.
Go get something. It's cool.
It's about building that relationship with people. And there's a book you've got to read. It's called the Private Lender Playbook. It's by Brant Phillips.
Okay.
Awesome.
Maybe not.
So Brant Phillips is a friend of mine, and what he has done is he wrote a playbook for getting the private money, and it's just like it's for private money lenders. People thinking about lending private money, like thinking about becoming the bank. They got 100,000, 50,000, $500,000 sitting there, and they're thinking about lending. And it shows you how to choose the people to lend to, how to create your documents, how to do things the right way, to make sure that you're double checking, to make sure that the money you're lending is actually protected and safe. So instead of taking the other side of it, where it's like, hey, let me borrow your money, he's actually created a book that says, hey, here's how you lend money, right? Here's the safe way to lend money and protect yourself. So great book to read if you look to raise capital.
I'm doing what you do. I'm ordering it right now. By Brant Phillips. There it is.
Brant Phillips, yep.
Nice.
Yeah, phenomenal book. And so $100 cash flow if you're fully leveraged. We buy houses with none of our own money into it. We offer people the opportunity to lend to us. We use other real estate agents to close the deals. We use outside contractors to run the projects. We partner up with our contractors so they get cash. Trying to think, we pass our leads to other agents. With our rental properties, we have a property manager who manages our properties. So in essence, we've gotten our business so we do absolutely nothing other than put out this content of education, and this piece literally feeds the rest. By going out,
that's amazing.
and having a source, a way to refer everybody into something, a funnel, then everything works out.
Yeah, I wanted to point out something that you said. I don't know if I said on the last podcast, but people are always saying, oh, I'm going to self-manage because I can't afford a manager. And then you pointed out, and if I'm repeating myself, I apologize, but you pointed out that when you do your numbers, you have to make sure that that 8 to 10% for that manager works with the numbers. So it's the opposite, which I just thought was such great advice, because usually you look for the property, you buy it, and then you say, can I put a manager in there? And you're like, no, I can't. So if you buy it right, where you put it in, like the Scaredy Cat calculator or whatever calculator you use, I recommend Scaredy Cat calculator.
Love it.
Mitch Jaworski. Anyway, but anyways, you can put that right in there, and then you know if it's a good deal with the manager, so that you can go to Florida, or you can go wherever, or you don't have to mow the grass for 4 years.
If you can't afford, yeah, right. So I haven't mowed grass in 4 years. It's probably working up to 5.
Yeah, right.
If you can't afford a manager in your property, that means you got to be the manager. And that's not the kind of business that I wanted to build. Right now, we pay our managers somewhere between $70,000 to $75,000 a year between the two managers, right? Dorina has a manager managing her 3 properties, and then me and Ron have a manager managing our 47 units. And so that's managed by other people. That amount of money that's going out, say if it gets as high as 80 grand, right? I'm not going to go and take all of my time that I'm spending in building the other 5 businesses to go and do that one business. So that 80 grand, like, yes, I could pay myself 80 grand, or I could go make $1 million, right? So like, I'd rather, even if the properties break even every single year, who cares? Those properties are about appreciation. Like, ultimately, the cash flow is designed to pay off the debt and go up in value. And then when the debt's paid off, that's where real cash flow comes from. Yeah, from not having the lender in there anymore.
Right. And the way you said it that time is really good, because a lot of times when we talk about this stuff, we phrase it like a $10 job when my time is worth $350 an hour. But but I like the way you said it this time, because you said it's $80,000, but maybe you saved that 80 that you would have paid a property manager, but you've now opportunity cost. You've lost that opportunity to go make $1 million. And
that's the reality.
That's when it's real, because now you're talking 10x.
10x.
Right? So, I mean, with your things, it's more than 10x. So if you're paying the property manager 80 grand, but you look at yourself and you say, if I spent this whole year focused on some project that I know, in your wealth principles, make sure your business is one that can make over $1 million. Don't do it if you can't.
Yeah.
Now you're over 10x. You're over 10x. You're 11x.
That's exactly right. 10x, 10x.
You gotta have an extra finger.
That's the reality. We build one business at a time and then automate it. And Ron and I talk about this all the time. Even if the business breaks, even with that automation, good. Now we can grow and expand it, and at some point replace that expensive automation to a cheaper automation. So yes, my property manager is expensive, right? Any property manager is going to be more expensive than in-house management, because in-house management, I could just pay a salary.
Right.
But in the beginning, I'm not going to go to take it in-house at 80 grand is almost not worth it to me, because if they leave, now I got to go train and replace, and it's a little more work. Whereas maybe at 200-300 units, when in-house is going to be 80 to 100,000 to pay 2 people, but the property management would have cost me $200,000-300,000. Okay, at that point,
that makes sense. That's like it's like Peregrine.
Totally. Like Peregrine is in-house because they're managing 1,400 units.
Right.
Right. But in the beginning, it would not make sense for them to be in-house. Although they probably did. They probably just stacked up that way.
Right. Nice.
But there's a point where you gotta eventually say, you know what? Do I want to scale, or do I want to simplify? And in wealth building, there is increase income, save, reinvest, and then simplify. Simplify is last, and you spend the least amount of time on this, because simplifying is, okay, I've got a bunch of money. Where's the money? going out the window. Let me seal some of that in
Right.
and pack it in so that we keep more. But you don't simplify in the beginning of the business, right? Like that's everybody's mistake is they keep the business small. They simplify, hoping to get all the dollars out of every transaction. Where in the beginning of the business, dude, I'd rather lose all that money, but build out a massive network and a massive brand and pump that piece up because that's an asset. And then I'll simplify and say, okay, now I'm making this. Now this chunk I keep.
It's funny that goes full circle because we're back to Tesla. Because what happened with Tesla?
It's exactly
what happened with Tesla is that Elon Musk started ramping up, and all the people on CNBC were saying, "Oh, they never make any money." Amazon's another example.
Amazon, same thing.
They just kept ramping up fast. Both of these companies. Like if you look at the factories, everyone's like, oh, they're crazy, buying this factory, building another factory, building a third factory or gigafactory. But the whole point was to ramp it up, and then get to a point where they can, just like you said, simplify it.
Yep. I told Ron, I was like, dude, like I don't want to make money anymore. Like I don't want to actually make money. I'd rather just receive passive appreciation, right? Like that is where, like, we pay ourselves a salary, but we keep it small so that the rest can be reinvested and we're not paying taxes on it. And we just say, look, dude, you know what our biggest expenses that we love? Marketing, right? I can go buy advertisements. And so as dollars come in and we don't need functional systems, we don't need to bring in employees. Well, I mean, right now we brought in a virtual assistant. We'll probably bring in one or two more. But those virtual assistants, we leverage so far out that creates so much more income for us that the next piece, once we've maxed them out, the next piece really is advertising dollars. Let's just spend this on advertising dollars. It's a direct correlation. It brings back more money. Even if it breaks even, it brings in more attention that we can go and pull dollars from later on when they're buying real estate.
It's we talked about this before, but there are consumers out there, and there's some need to spend money. So what they do is they go out and buy a fancy car or fancy house, and what I found is that you can get the same high by buying a stock or buying, or paying for advertising or putting it back into your business, or like I think we talked about my father, where he would take the money and, buy a building or fix up the house. And it's all that same sort of thing where you're still spending money. So maybe you get some joy out of spending the money, but you're not throwing it down the drain. You're putting it back into something so that it creates more money. It's the, what is that? The richest man in Babylon. Your dollars are being spent to make more dollars, and it's so good.
Just marshaling our army of dollars out there.
Right.
So, keep going.
Go out there. Yeah, but if you go out and you buy like a Lamborghini, I mean, I don't know, that's it. Unless, what are you going to do? I guess you could rent it on Turo or something, but it's not.
My problem with fancy cars is, and I'm talking like anything over $70,000, $100,000, I'll call that fancy, right? Because the average person can't afford it.
Right.
My problem with any kind of luxury is that every dollar I spend this year could have been $4 next year, right? When I look at the way I leverage dollars and what I'm capable of making, like that's just this year.
Yeah.
But if you start looking out into what I'm capable of creating, next year that's a $12, that's a $16 dollar. So 2 years from now, that could have been $16.
It's a compound interest. It's Albert Einstein. It's the most powerful force in the world. And
we're capable of turning our money that quickly. In a year, we can turn it 4 times, or we can double it 2 times.
That's actually why, I'm Tesla obsessed. I'm a Tesla fanboy. Hashtag Tesla fanboy. But I'm still driving my car.
Yeah.
And people keep saying, go buy a Tesla, go buy a Tesla. And I'm like, well, I can't. Because if you read like Robert Kiyosaki, and he talks about, you get the asset and then have the asset pay for that. I'm just not there yet. It's not. Yeah. I heard Diami always emphasizes this. You're losing an opportunity cost. There is an you're not losing it. There is an opportunity cost. So when you go out and buy that Lamborghini, you're just like you said. You're losing exponential growth by spending that money that way.
That's the part that I just can't let go of, right? Every time I think, like, people are like, oh, well, do this. I'm like, oh, well, I could do that.
Yeah.
And I could do this 1,000 times, right?
Yeah.
Warren
Although
Buffett
now that
says,
we're talking about this, I feel like I wonder if that's abundance versus scarcity, because if you did buy the Lambo, would you end up somehow more money would just come into your vortex?
it's in what you appreciate, right? If it brought you enough joy where you could bring more in, then yes.
Right. Yeah.
It's just,
You know,
Lambos never
what was
turned me
his
on.
name? Who's your guy? Dan Latowski? Was that his name?
Zatowski, yep, Dan Zatowski.
Yeah. He had everything, he said.
Yeah.
He said he had all the fancy cars and all the toys and stuff like that. And then you get to the end of the proverbial road and you realize it wasn't all it was cracked up to be, and he had to readjust his whole life based on He's still doing the same type of business, but now the money
holds everything.
Right. The money goes somewhere else. It doesn't go to cars and things like that. Yeah.
So I was just doing the math, and that's what it comes out to 5 years from now. So $1 to me, if I spend it wisely, becomes $1,000 in 5 years.
Awesome.
$1 wasted, I'm like, oh shit. You know, and it's
so true.
Is there scarcity there?
Yeah.
Maybe, but like, so is the math, right? Like, it's got to be the right dollar spent. You know, if the dollar does keep you happy and keeps you in a place of moving in the right direction, if that dollar gets you a network of people, that was an investment. It wasn't a wasted dollar.
Yeah, well, you posted the other day you were in Newport buying lobsters at a fancy restaurant, and you were sort of vacillating over whether you should be spending that. And I was like, oh, come on. You're out with your girlfriend having a nice dinner in Newport.
Totally. Oh my God.
You got to let that one go.
So some of these are, hey, it's in there, right? Like, I'll admit to it.
Work in progress.
Yeah. But by the time the bill came, it was like, after, seeing how happy she was. I mean, the seats were amazing. We sat right out in the water.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I saw the Facebook. Yeah, it was awesome.
The food was delicious. The service was bar none. This wasn't McDonald's service, right? So,
great.
The experience was great. And so I wrote that check. I was like, yeah, 20%. You got this. You earned it. I'm rich. So there was.
You told a story last week about paying something, like some big bill for somebody. I can't remember what it was, but
it could have been somebody's funeral. I may have helped out with a funeral.
Well, that's really nice. That wasn't it, but that's a nice thing to do. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Sometimes I help. Yeah.
No, all the time. That's your whole thing. You always do that. It's a great reminder to me. Where, like when I'll text you, I was like, I can't make it. I got a closing to do. You're like, go help people. I'm like, that's so great. That's awesome.
Like, go get them, bro. Go help.
Because you forget, I mean, if you ask me if I'm sitting there and I say, oh yeah, I'm helping people, but closing to closing, yeah. It's
easy to forget when you're in the grind, when you're just going one after the other. It's like, ah.
And actually, like today, I had a closing today at 9. And it was a refi, and so I'm getting there, getting to work, getting everything going, and I met these people, and they were like the nicest people ever. So it was like, I don't know, I feel so blessed. It's kind of like you sit there and think, oh, this is work, but it's not work when you're meeting new people and they're just super friendly and fun, and it's just I have a great job. It's just cool. Yeah.
Mike, you're the holistic attorney. It's what you attract. You attract the best clients. They want to work with you. They want to do more closings. They want to buy more houses, lend money.
So true. I love it.
That's one other piece that you and I want to start talking more about is, not only do you provide hard money, private money to teach people how to get it, but I want to start talking about how you're able to help facilitate the lending of private money. This way, if somebody's thinking about doing it, because right now, look, we're in an economy that's cash rich, right? There's a lot of people who just made a ton of money.
Yep.
And I'll be really quick because I want to jump into our coaching session, but there's there's a lot of people who just got $1,200 in their mail. They took that money and they ran right to their favorite places to lose money, and they lost the money.
Yeah, right.
And so the favorite places to collect money
Yeah.
have collected the money already. So the money's in different hands. And now they're dispersing to all the new people they hired and all the people that they're investing in and all their businesses. And now they're sitting on a ton of cash.
Right.
And the money's funneling through to the 20% that always collect the cash.
Yeah.
So it went into the system and it's right back to where it belongs. People say,
this is so sad. You've said this a couple of times to me, and it just bums me out. I mean, I get it. It's like the lottery winners who 3 years later don't have the money. But it's like, oh, I don't know. There should be better education. I
agree.
A left turn, but there's no education in public schools about mortgages, about real estate, about any of that stuff. But they'll teach you how to make a chocolate cake in home ec. Really?
See, so you can be a fat American and broke and end up divorced and not happy because the system is allowing you to maintain that status quo.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but there's that saying, right? If you took all the money in the world, took it away from everybody, cut it all out evenly, and gave it back, within a year it'd be back in the pockets.
Yeah.
We just proved it's way faster than a year.
Right? I was watching a video on YouTube where some Good Samaritan was giving people money, paying for their groceries as they walked out.
Love those.
And,
yep.
Yeah, I love them too, but it really struck me because there were these moms with their kids that when they were given the money, and it was probably like $100 for their grocery bill, they were like breaking down and crying. And I said to Brenda after I watched it, I said, there's something wrong with this system. Speaking of Brenda, she's on the phone. But I said, there's something wrong with the system when you have moms who are just trying to raise their kids, and $100 for groceries makes them start crying. You're like, we need a better system for educating people so that they're not living paycheck to paycheck, or even worse, living credit card debt because they can't afford things. That's just, yeah.
That's what the 100 Millionaires is all about, right? We go and build our 100 Millionaires. Way to segue in, Mike.
Came around, big circle.
we build our 100 Millionaires. We're going to go out and teach another 100 Millionaires. We're going to teach another 100 Millionaires. And over 5, 10, 20 years of this, eventually, we should be able to eliminate the scarcity mindset, eliminate the desire to be broke and poor and need from other people. We should be able to push into the world the ability to create for yourself through abundance and opening, the chakras, and just realizing, okay, everything is here for us. And
there's going to be a statue of you in Fall River.
It may not. Hey,
like
that. Hey, if it's not a statue of me, it'll be one of our students. And so
yeah, there you go.
All that matters at the end of the day is that
like Walter Amarella Square or something like that.
You know what? I'll take it.
Yeah.
Sign me up. Put me in. Pose.
There'll be pigeons sitting on.
What I want is to be a copper statue with pigeons sitting on my shoulders.
It's in the
This
vortex.
is what I've accomplished in life.
It's in the vortex.
Okay, I know exactly where I want the statue. Thank you, Mike. So now that I know it's there, all I got to do is fund the new problem. So
yeah, that's so awesome. Can you imagine? Yeah.
Already did. I've got it. I know exactly where I want it. So
yeah.
Perfect.
Anyway, all right. So we're back to 100 Millionaires. So I am
back to 100 Millionaires.
Mike
Sign us off,
holistic attorney looking for massive income from passive income.
Cheers to your success. When you have a choice, always work with the best.
That's awesome. Cool.